That was such a thematically satisfying ending, right down to Jinx's final moments mirroring Isha's. But with the introduction of alternate Jinx, as well as her having hex crystals, Jinx will be back. We're gonna break down Jinx's ending, Ambessa Mel and the Black Rose, as well as what happened to Jace and Viktor. So guys, give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let's just dive into it. I think we should start with Jinx and her sacrifice in the end, showing us the ultimate expression of free will, mirroring the sacrifice Isha made in the finale of episode 6. Both these events mirror each other, but that's not where the mirroring stops when it comes to Jinx. Episode 7 of season 2 is a mirror of episode 7 season 1, but a distorted mirror. In season 2, we see Echo in an alternate reality, and in this reality, Jinx never went on the mission that caused our friends to die in the first season, aside from Vi. On the flip side, in season 1, the only one who survived was Vi. In this universe, without Vi, we see Jinx's life is thriving. Her and Echo are growing ever so closer, almost like they're falling in love. But if you juxtapose that to season 1, episode 7, Jinx and Echo were trying to kill each other, showing us how different choices have different outcomes, which is at the core theme of this season, because time, alternate realities, and different variables all play a factor in the overall story of Arcane. The control over the choice of others to change things. Echo spends most of episode 7 trying to recreate the anatomy that got him to this universe, him and Hammerdinger. In their experiments, they're also tweaking the runes. We know how the manipulation of rune plays a big factor in the magic system of Arcane. In their experiments, Echo was able to create a time machine. He's only able to go back 4 seconds, but just going back 4 seconds, something as minute as that is enough to change the outcome of things, which is how after he left the alternate universe, he was able to reach out to Jinx. And that conversation, whatever it is, however deep they got, convinced her to unite Zaun against Viktor and ultimately convinced her to sacrifice herself. But I don't think Jinx is dead. The very last shot we see of the season is of Jinx's color scheme flashing across the screen before it fades to black. But not only because of that, even if that version of Jinx is dead, back in episode 7, Jinx in the alternate reality had a stash of hex crystals. And all it takes is her choice to continue Echo's work, and Jinx may be back. Because while this may be the final season of Arcane, there's going to be more stories in the Arcane universe. Riot Games and Netflix pretty much confirmed. That's why I think she may be back. Because in every reality, Jinx is trapped by the same question. Do our choices define us, or are we defined by what we cannot choose? In either realities, Jinx's actions are always being pushed by somebody else. Whether in the alternate reality it's Vander pushing her to be something more, or in this main universe, Jinx has been wanting to die for a long time. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but people keep stopping her and keep giving her reasons to live on, almost like they're taking away from her autonomy, making Jinx more of a reactionary character as opposed to an actionary one. Is it free will or is it predetermination? She sacrificed herself, taking out Warwick, saving Vi. Her first true act of self-sacrifice is her act of autonomy. But even though she sacrificed herself, she was not alone. Granted, Warwick is Warwick, but he's still Vander, so she died with her father to save her sister. That was her choice to make, something that would not have happened in Viktor's utopia. So let's talk about Viktor, the architect of control, like I like to call him. The entire time, Viktor was the hid figure. From the very beginning, Viktor has been manipulating everything behind the scenes. Since season 1, he's been the one pushing Jace to create himself, creating something similar to a closed time loop. We find out he sent Jace on the path to creating Viktor as we know it now. Viktor did this an infinite amount of times in an infinite amount of possibilities throughout the vast infinity that is the multiverse. And ultimately, all the answers come out the same when it comes to control and free will. That's where it gets interesting. Who created who? Did Jace create Viktor the way he is now? Where does it begin? Is it Viktor sending Jace on the journey, or Jace transforming Viktor into the person who sends him on the journey? You see how it starts to form of closed time loop, creating a paradox? But I feel like that's all part of Viktor's master plan, because his form of human evolution is a hive mind where everyone is one, where everything is controlled. So his hive mind experiment symbolizes absolute control, where individuality and choice are sacrificed for unity and the greater good. It's kind of like plugging everyone into the matrix and letting Viktor dictate what is good for humanity as a whole. His philosophy contrasts sharply with that of Jace though, who believes that true evolution requires the mess that is free will, the struggle through rise and failure. What's really interesting about that to me is Jace is a byproduct of Viktor's predetermination. Even though his entire life has been controlled by Viktor to some point, Jace still believes that it's his choices that get him there. So when him and Viktor have the final confrontation, Jace forces Viktor to see the consequences of his vision, a world where there is no choice, no free will. Initially, it may look like utopia, but then it becomes stagnant. Without free will, without choice, there is no evolution. In a universe where every outcome is predetermined, life loses meaning, And without choice, even perfection is empty and hollow, kind of like the machines that Viktor started using to fight the final battle. If Viktor's truly about human evolution like he says he is, he has to allow choice to happen. And Jace is able to reach him, which forces Viktor to confront the fallacy of his control, leading to his surrender and dismantling of the hive mind. And Jace takes it a step further by using his free will in direct juxtaposition to Viktor's control. He chooses to stay there with Viktor. He chooses to help, and together they end it all. And in that moment, Viktor and Jace's story arcs end with his first true act of free will, relinquishing control over others and seeking redemption. Predetermination may guide the past, but forgiveness is the choice that defines the future, which ties Viktor's themes directly to Jinx's themes. Forgiveness, redemption, and the choice to do differently is ultimately what makes human beings what they are. Granted, not all choices are perfect, but the ability to learn, make mistakes, and change things is fundamentally human. Granted, Powder's choice killed all her friends in this universe, but also Jinx's choices allowed them to save the universe against Viktor. So it's not necessarily everything happens for a reason. It's more so choices allow things to be different. Things can be better. Things may not be great at all times, but if we keep going, things can be better. Which brings us to my favorite confrontation and my favorite characters, Ambessa and Mel. That battle mirrors Jace and Viktor's. It's a clash of control versus choice, compassion, empathy. First things first, Mel is a mage. Not only is she a mage, the Black Rose recruited her to stop Ambessa. Ambessa's conquest for control had her aligning with Viktor's, sacrificing everyone's free will in her army so she can win at all costs. Ambessa represents domination by force, seeing power as the only way to survive, thrive, and ensure her legacy. Her vision of control mirrors Viktor's. Even though they use different methodologies, both of them ultimately want to dominate with control for two very different reasons. While Viktor's ideals are more altruistic, while Ambessa's is for glory and the expansion of her legacy. She even goes as far as to sacrifice her son for this, which puts her in direct opposition to her daughter Mel. Mel is all about free will, choices, and a different emotional strength to her that Ambessa just doesn't have. While Ambessa thinks total egalitarian is the way to go, which shows he's aligned with Viktor even though his goes another step further. Mel, being an empathetic mage, highlights her capacity to feel and understand others, a strength that Ambessa initially dismisses as a weakness. It's a great strength that connects Mel to Kate, and together they're able to defeat Ambessa, which shows the final confrontation is not just a battle of power, but ideology. Where Ambessa sees control as survival, Mel sees freedom as strength. The freedom of choice and compassion had Mel save her mom when the Black Rose took her. Even though Ambessa died, Mel didn't let them desecrate her, and showing the compassion opened Ambessa's eyes to seeing it's a different way of going about it. You don't have to be brute muscle to show true power. Mel is powerful, and it's not just because of her magic, it's because of who she is as a person. Now that Ambessa's dead and Mel inherited her mother's throne, she's gonna expand on the Noxian Empire in a way Ambessa never could, and it's gonna thrive not through domination, but through a different type of power. Mel's choice to forgive her mother cemented her as a leader who values unity through understanding and not domination. All these characters show up as mirrors of one another, alternate realities showing the different outcomes that you can have. And in the end, Arcane's second season asks a simple question. Are we defined by the choices we make, or are we merely players in a script that we can't escape? Granted, this is a show, so the characters are in a script, but the whole idea and the whole concept of free will, determination, alternate realities, closed time loops, all that shows different possibilities that we're able to undertake as human beings or people who are just alive. But guys, that's just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about Arcane Season 2 in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.